What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, checking out the Viperade VE13, their mini EDC pouch. Picked this up on Amazon. You can get it for about $18. Their list price is $20, but they have that apply 10% coupon, which gets you down to $18. On Prime Day, this is actually on sale for $15.99, so a couple dollars cheaper, but I had actually already ordered it by then, so maybe it dips below that every once in a while, but paid $18. Feel like that's pretty fair. I like Viperade, have ordered them before, have shown them on the channel before, and they hold up pretty well, so happy with that price point. Now, called the mini EDC pouch, and it really is small, and the dimensions list it as 4.41 inches by 3.31 inches. However, I found it was a little bit smaller than that. So when I measure the width, I'm basically dead on 3 inches exactly wide and 4 inches exactly tall. And so a little bit smaller than the listed dimensions, but I do prefer that. It fits in the pocket really well, and so I was looking to get something small, and this really fit the bill, and it being smaller than it was listed was actually better in my book. But if you are looking for something exactly those dimensions, just something to be aware of. Now, other thing to note is a lot of pouches this small will pull double duty and will function as a wallet. This one really won't. There's nowhere to accommodate a credit card. In theory, it's obviously larger than a credit card, but this opening for the zipper pocket only opens to about 2¼ inches wide. And so what happens is you can force a credit card in there, but you have to bend it a little bit, pull the top over, and it's just not convenient, and probably will eventually kind of wear out the credit cards so that you may eventually break it. And so not gonna do super well as a wallet, which again, I'm okay with because that wasn't what I was planning on using it for, but another thing to keep in mind. Now, looking at the front side, well, what I'm calling the front side, either side can really be the front, you have your lanyard attachment point on the top. You can put a carabiner or keychain attachment up there as well. The alpaca clips you can put up there. Or what I was hoping for actually was to be able to put a pen up there. It didn't really work out. I'll show you, I have a pen on the back that is pretty standard size. None of the mini pens I had really fit through it. It's not wide enough. And the one that I did was a little bit too long, probably 1/4 inch on each side, and so wasn't really ideal for it. So that didn't work out. I may be on the lookout for a pen that will work, but not the biggest deal if it doesn't. You also have this Viperade tactical equipment tag on the side and a hook and loop panel that is 2 inches tall by 3 inches wide. And so you can accommodate those 2x3 patches or a couple of Ranger eyes. The ones I chose for this video were very intentional. These just dropped from Grim EDC. It's their Crybaby V4 from the Goof Troop movie, and really cool, just nostalgic patches for me. I loved this movie when I was younger. Have Max on the left, Powerline on the right, but this is actually part of a 3-patch set, so also comes with Goofy. And so if you're looking for this, at least when I'm recording this, they're still in stock, and I'd imagine they will be when the video goes live. So did throw those on there in case you're interested. I will link to them in the description, as well as everything in the video that's available. If it's not available, I'll try and link to some alternatives. But the VE13, obviously easily searchable on Amazon. We'll link to that too. Now the zipper on here is YKK. This material just says 1000D durable fabric, but somewhere else on it, it says it's polyester. So I'm not exactly sure. I guess it's a 1000D polyester, but they're not super specific about it on the listing. So not 100% sure about that. But this opens up. You can see it's not the full width. Like I said, about 2¼ inches. So you can fit some smaller items in there. Honestly, when I've used it so far, I haven't gotten a ton of heavy use out of this, but when I've used it so far, I leave this empty for like paper and coins. So maybe I'll put a challenge coin in there or some cash, receipts, that sort of thing. But the reason being is I want this to be as flat as possible. And you can see with the current loadout, it gets a little wider, and I just want it to ride in my pocket a little bit flatter, and so I don't tend to put anything in here. I did want to throw some items in there just so you can get a sense of the type of items that will fit in there. So through this bean from Beans EDC, it's just kind of a worry stone. You can choose the lanyard on here, and the cool thing about this company is he donates all of the profit to charity, and he's very transparent about it. He posts receipts. I did a short on this a while back, but I think it's a cool company, definitely worth checking out. But Has like beads and stuff too if you're not into worry stones and just want a bead to add to your knife or zipper pull. Has that as well. So really cool item. And then next to that I have a Rovi Vaughn E1 Angel Eyes. Have a video on another in this series. I don't think it is this exact one, but another of the Angel Eyes series. These are cool because they're dual battery sources. So they have a lithium battery as well as accept AAA. And so if your battery dies, you don't want to charge it, you can just go to the store, grab a AAA, throw it in there, or carry an extra AAA and use that as a power source. It's also pretty bright. It has a few different modes. I'm not going to go into the strobe, but 3 different levels and pretty easy to operate. Nice kind of form. I like that it doesn't roll. Just a big fan of this flashlight. So threw that in there. You can also fit something like a Zippo in this pocket, but not anything much wider than that. So I have like one of those, I think it's Therm that makes it maybe, Zippos, and that doesn't fit in here, but a standard Zippo will. So just a decent pocket, but if you leave it empty, and it does kind of protrude pretty far, so if you want to put thicker items, you can put thicker even than this. But without any of that, it does kind of end up lying pretty flat. So I showed it earlier. Now unloaded, you can see it gets pretty flat, and that's with stuff on the back. And so I like that about it being empty. Now flipping it over to the other side, this is where kind of all the external storage is and organization, and everything on this side is obviously accessible without a zipper. You have this kind of molly webbing that you can put gear in. These are not elastic, they're nylon, so if you're expecting elastic, they don't really stretch, and that does mean the pocket behind it affects what you can put in these. So with this one, I have a pretty wide item. I can put super flat items, but not much else. In this middle where there's nothing behind it, you can see there's a little bit more space to put items. So I'm going to pull these items out, and then I'll get to the dimensions of the straps as well as the pockets. But first item up is the Victorinox Cadet, one of my favorite Victorinoxes of all time, especially this ALOX version, and in particular the black version. I just love the way it looks. It's super thin, has a decent amount of tools. Missing scissors, I would love to see scissors on here, but doesn't detract from this being my probably favorite version of any Victorinox. And so have the ALOX version, have the G10 versions, and like all of them, but ALOX is definitely my favorite. The black one's a little bit hard to find. You can find the silver pretty readily available. You can find the black one on the secondary, but otherwise I had to kind of go on a chase to find this one, and I ended up finding it in person, so that worked out. But behind that you have some pockets. I'm kind of wasting the space on this one, honestly, but I did want to throw a pen in here because I wanted to show that it wouldn't fit in here. But this is a good pocket for a knife. Something like the Baby Banter fits well. A lot of small to medium knives will fit in here. You can see it's pretty wide, and again, I'll measure that out after I get it unloaded, but good pocket for a knife. Right now I just have a BigIDesign pen in here. This is their mini bolt action. You can see it has the Pete's Pirate Life logo on the clip. The Pete's Pirate Life version is no longer available, but the mini bolt action is, so I'll link to that version. Really cool little pen, about the same size as an O Pen Mini or a Poca pen, if you're familiar with either of those, the Fisher Space pen, the bullet version. And so about that size, and just a good little pen. Takes a lot of different inserts as well. I think some need modification because it's shorter, but we'll still accept them. Now, last item in here, this is on the thinner back pocket, is the Otical D1. Now I just showed this in a video yesterday, so usually I would try to put something else there, just kind of show a little bit more variety. But I threw this in here because in the video I mentioned that I was curious if these bits, which are double-sided and come with the tool, would be replaceable with just regular Weha microbits, and they do. They work obviously in the bit driver portion, but even in the storage you can put them in there. And so these are a little bit shorter than those dual-sided bits, but they'll still fit in the slot. The only thing to note is that there's a little bit of rattle. So with these ones, they're pretty snug. You don't get really any movement. Whereas since those ones are a little bit shorter, they kind of move back and forth in the tray. You can still fit 4 of them. They just rattle a little bit, which may be annoying for some people. But I did think that was nice in case these bits eventually get stripped out or you lose one, you can replace it with those Weha bits. So just something to keep in mind. Now, back to the pouch. Comes in a bunch of different colors. I obviously got this OD green, which again is like 1000D, I guess, polyester. But there's red and blue and black and I think multicam. So a couple different colors available. They've also been experimenting with different materials. I don't think this one's available in any other materials yet, but maybe eventually we'll see like an X-Pack version, which we've seen in some of the other pouches. But as far as dimensions on this side go, your nylon strap is 1 inch tall and the leftmost portion is about 1 inch. The middle is a little bit wider at maybe 1 1/4 inches, it looks like. And the last one is again 1 inch. And so the back pockets, they're obviously at an angle, and so the height's gonna vary. I'm just gonna measure it from the middle just for the sake of being easier. Middle is about 2.5 inches on the right pocket. This one's not as wide as the other, so we're looking, again, about 1 1/4, close to 1.5, but with the seam, it's not gonna use like 1.5 inch wide pocket. It'll be closer to 1 1/4. Now, the leftmost one's about 3 inches deep in the middle. It gets all the way up to about 3.5, not quite 3.5, and it's 1 and maybe 5/8. Actually, if I move over, so I guess 1 3/4 inches. Again, the width on here, it's gonna depend on how thick the item you put in there. It takes up a little bit of that space with the seams, but about 1 3/4 inch. So really minimal. You can see I didn't put a lot of gear in here, and that's definitely how I prefer it. I'd actually go with a little bit less gear than I even showed, but really cool front pocket. It's really flat. It doesn't feel like you have a big old pouch in your pocket. And so I've been trying to get more and more minimal with my front pocket carries. I'll still carry the medium and larger pouches, but in that case, I'm throwing them in bags more and more often now. And so have been looking for smaller ones. And I really like that this one doesn't double as a wallet, because it changes how the pouch would work. You wouldn't get this whole zipper pocket, which I'm not using a ton anyway, but I do like the ability to just kind of dump small items in there. If you want to put a USB flash drive or adapters or like the tiny USB SD card readers and stuff like that, you can throw them in there and don't have to have a dedicated space on the outside for them. So like this a lot. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, if you're looking for any of this gear, I will link to versions of them. Again, some of it's not available. I guess the Pete's Pirate Life is probably the only one that's super limited, but you have the alternative, the BigIDesign. The Cadet, the black version's a little bit hard to find, but the silver is available. And the Beans EDC, this is a kind of a charity thing, but they pop up pretty regularly. I don't think he has a website, so I'll link to, I guess, his Instagram. But all really cool stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And I hope you have a great one. Take care.